All right, everybody, welcome to the next episode of the Tulsa Life podcast. We are super excited today because we are going to be talking about something that I have a lot of interest in, even though I honestly don't really even know where to start. So we have Ron with us today, and he is going to talk to us all about solar.
Yeah.
So like solar power, solar energy. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what your company is, and just give us a brief introduction.
Okay. Well, my name is Ron Towery. I work for Voltaic Solar. We're based out of California. We're now here in Oklahoma. We're building up our team here, and we're just here to help you save on electricity costs.
That's awesome. Now, are you originally from the Tulsa area?
Yep, born and raised. I escaped for 10 years.
And, you escaped and went to California?
No, I went to Florida.
Oh, which part?
South Florida, right around Fort Lauderdale. I was in the Coast Guard for 10 years.
Yeah, I love like Fort Lauderdale, Miami, like all the places. We lived over on the southwest side, so we were like near Naples and Sarasota.
Okay, yeah.
So we lived there for 8 years. So I escaped for 8 years. You escaped for 10 years, but I love that. So how did you get interested in solar?
Well, I got out of the Coast Guard and then went to Customs and Border Protection for a little bit.
Okay.
Got out of that in 2010. Started selling cars and then transitioned into selling windows, and then solar just kind of sparked my interest.
It was just the natural progression from cars to windows to solar.
You could say that, I guess. It was just, my buddy got into it, and it sounded fun, and so I got into it.
Now, how long have you been in the solar business?
Since 2019.
Okay. Cool.
A minute.
So I feel like when I think solar, I think of like futuristic. I think it's something that I don't even know enough about to even understand. Like, do you use it? Like, the only thing that when we were in Florida, everybody had solar panels on their homes to heat their pools. Yep. But you didn't see very many like solar panels to charge their homes. Yeah. But now I feel like you're seeing more. So tell us, like, what do you see mostly, like, that's kind of entering? And I know it's getting bigger, like the solar movement is getting bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing that came around was called net metering. So what net metering is if you're overproducing and whatever you're not producing goes back to the grid.
Okay.
And like, let's say PSO purchases that power, and what they do is they roll your meter backwards. So during the day, you're collecting that power, rolling it backwards. So at nighttime, when the sun goes down, you start using PSO's energy again, but it's rolling forward on the credits that you accumulated during the day.
Okay, so you're kind of borrowing it and like storing it up a little bit.
Yep. Okay. So it's not necessary now to get a battery because of net metering, and they're keeping track of how much power you're putting back into the grid, and you get that back. So it's a lot more affordable now than it was.
So when you say affordable, because that's the first thing I think of is like, oh, this is so expensive, and I have to make sure, I mean, just like with anything. So I have an electric vehicle.
Yep.
So I drive an electric car, and one of the things that there are always like, I love my car, but I can only go so far.
Yep.
And then the charging is still like, it takes a long time to get a charge.
Yep.
It's kind of like we're running down your cell phone battery, and as soon as your battery is dead, you have to have it plugged into the charger, and then it has to recharge up to a certain amount. So having said that, when I was looking at it, I'm outweighing the cost of what am I saving in gas, and then how much is it costing in my electric. So is it changing my electric bill? Now, the convenience side of it is phenomenal. I love having an electric vehicle because it means that I don't have to ever go to the gas station, which is awesome. But it is something that you have to kind of weigh. So when we're talking about affordability, and I'm in the home business. Yep. So let's talk about homes specifically.
Okay. If
somebody was saying, I want to move to solar power, and I also think there is a little bit of a misconception, and okay, don't get mad at me, but when I think of solar, I kind of think of preppers.
Yeah.
I kind of think of people who, if I have to be off the grid, if the apocalypse happens, if zombies invade.
I mean, that was true 10, 15 years ago.
Okay, so I think I still think this.
Yeah.
And I think these are the people that, it's for people like that. It's for people, Aunt Pam, I love you, but solar, she's a prepper. Like I love my Aunt Pam, and they've got this land, and they, are chickens and goats and, and solar power. So I think that it's not just for that, right?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so walk us through.
So now it's pretty much just for every day, right?
Okay.
Because right now everyone's using electricity in their homes.
Right.
Right. You can't get away from it, right? So right now you're averaging $200 a month. You're just donating that money every month to the electric company over a 25-year period with 4.5% escalator
right?
every year, which is very conservative.
Yeah.
You're going to spend over $93,000 in just electricity costs over 25 years.
Wow.
So where solar comes in,
$100,000.
Yep. So where solar comes in is you spend a fraction of what you're going to spend over the next 25 years, and you can maintain a payment that you're already paying that stays consistent until you pay it off.
So are you paying it? So you're basically financing it over that 25 years, and you're just paying that off. But then, obviously you own it at that point.
Absolutely.
Okay. So here's my next question. People, the average person, and this has actually gone down a little bit. It used to be 7 years, turns their home every 7 years. Mm-hmm. So they sell their home every 7 years. It's actually gone closer to 6 years now.
Yep.
What happens if I put solar on my home and then I decide to sell it in 6 years?
Well, luckily, we're getting a lot of influx from people from the West Coast coming to.
Yes, we are.
To Oklahoma, and they're well rehearsed in solar. If you look up Zillow, it increases property value to 4%.
Okay.
But if you look at Texas, and we kind of follow after Texas, it increases property value 5 to 7%.
Wow.
So it actually pays for itself mostly with just the increase in property value.
Okay. And so you think that it's actually a value add when you're going to sell your home that you have that solar. Now, do you transfer that over to the new owner, or do you pay that off?
Either way, whatever's best fits the situation, because the loans are transferable to the new homeowner if they want to take on that loan, or you can pay it off. So if you've had it for 15, 20 years,
and you're close to having it paid off, then you
can pay it off.
Wrap it up in the price of your home.
Absolutely,
and that'll absorb that. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And right now, the government is actually giving you 30% federal tax credit.
Okay.
Just like when you bought your electric car.
Just like my electric car. I got a tax credit.
And so you get 30%. It goes off of your tax liability.
Okay.
So it's just not a blanket 30%, but if you pay in that much money, then you get that much money back, and you can claim it up to 5 years to recoup all that money.
Okay, so let's talk about affordability a little bit more, and understanding that I love the fact that you can, kind of pay that off, and it's replacing your electric bill anyway. Yep. So you're still paying, for that energy, and you're kind of 6 in one, half dozen in the other. Can you give us just an estimate? Because when I think of solar, I don't even know where that starts. But I mean, are we talking is it so big that you'd have to finance it over 25 years?
Yes and no.
Let's just take and I know it's like asking me what is my house worth without seeing your home and all of this, but I guess let's take an average home, 2,000 square foot, 1,700 square foot.
Well, see, what we do is we actually design a system for your usage. So we get an electric bill. We look at the last year
of your usage. Okay.
Everyone uses electricity different. So just because you have a 2,000 square foot house doesn't mean that it's a blanket.
I'm like the prime example of this because so my husband, I'm always like, our electric bill is so crazy. And he was like, Aaron, we have our entry has 26-foot ceilings.
Yep.
He was like, that's like a 2-story house. Even though it's not a 2-story, he was like, you are still heating and cooling, that entire square footage. So it's not necessarily the square footage of the footprint. It's how much square footage are you, actually.
Yep. So we'll take the example of $200 a month. Over 25 years, you're going to spend $93,000. That's just what you're on track to spend.
Okay.
Your $200 payment now is going to be over $600 in the future, right?
Yep.
So where solar comes in, we're about a third the price of what you're going to spend, and we can maintain the payment that you're already comfortable paying.
Okay.
So you're already
you're really going to look at it case by case by whatever energy they're currently using.
Absolutely.
And then work it that way, which makes complete sense.
Yeah, because you could have a 2,000 square foot house, your neighbor could, but they mine Bitcoin.
Right. right.
Their electric bill is going to be a little higher than yours. So we really design each system for every person.
And you're really trying to design it as like thinking in your mind, if you're already spending this, we're really going to keep you in that budget.
Yeah, absolutely. And then one thing that's nice that's coming in Oklahoma is House Bill 1023 is going to be, it's on the governor's desk now, so it's going to be passing within the next few months.
Okay.
And that basically prohibits HOAs from denying you to go solar.
That's interesting because we run into that a lot. We did in Florida a lot.
Yep.
And I do think that, so are they working, is that just really all, you have to capture that energy. So the panels are really the way to do it. You really can't get around having panels, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, they've toyed with the idea of solar shingles, and
That would be a great idea.
Yeah, but they can't get the production to where it's feasible.
Okay.
Because no one's going to spend $100,000 or
On the roof shingles.
On the roof shingles. So
makes sense, and especially in Oklahoma.
Yeah,
and
the great
tornadoes.
the great thing about solar now is when people think of solar, they think of those 4 huge solar panels that heated their water heater,
right?
Like their grandma and their grandpa had,
yes.
Right? And then after that, they transitioned to the blue with the white checkerboards on it.
Yep.
That's just ugly.
Mm-hmm. Nobody really wants that.
No one really wants that. But now the solar panels that are out now are solid black with black trim. It just looks like plasma screen TVs on your roof.
Yeah.
So they're really, really attractive, really aesthetically pleasing, and homeowners are really enjoying those a lot more.
I also think it's kind of one of those things that you drive by somebody's house that has all the solar panels and you're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like it's getting to a point where you're like, oh, they have solar power. That's really interesting. So does it take a whole lot of those panels to, I mean, like you said, I remember the pools in Florida where you would have one side of the house roof line was covered with that, and that only heated the pool.
Yeah. You could do a standard house with 20 to 35 panels.
Okay.
It's just depending on your usage.
Now, I've also seen our roofs the only option because I feel like I've seen them like even like out in fields. Like,
yep, we've done ground mounts before.
Ground mounts.
We have people that put them on top of pergolas. Like they'll build a pergola and they'll put them on top of the pergola and have like a living space underneath it. I mean, it's very versatile. I mean, you just have to have a structure that's mounted into the ground because the panels themselves are rated up to 90 mile per hour softball size hail and 130 mile per hour winds.
Okay, so we're pretty okay here in Oklahoma.
Yeah, they're designed almost for Oklahoma.
I was going to say, like, that's keeping Oklahoma in mind here.
Yeah.
All right, so do you see a whole lot of like an increase in people's, curiosity, and how is it going here in Oklahoma so far?
It's going really good. Like in 2019 when I first started, the average cost per kilowatt was around 8 cents a kilowatt.
Okay.
Right. And so trying to sell solar and talk about, well, prices are going to increase. It was kind of a hard sell. People still went solar, but it was still a hard sell. Fast forward to 2023, we're paying on average 13 to 17 cents a kilowatt.
Okay.
So they're seeing that jump in their electric bill, especially in the last 2 years when it's went up.
It has gone
36%.
Up. Crazy. And then what about the drawbacks that I feel like you have with regular, electric is you have power outages, you have blackouts. I mean, especially people like in California, they know all about that, which cracks me up. Side note, how does California want to have everybody on electric vehicles and then have rolling blackouts? Like, I'm like, I mean, I know that's totally off subject, but
it's actually not because because we're talking about the power grid.
Okay.
Like in Oklahoma, the power grid's over 113 years old. Right, it's old.
Wow. See, I know nothing about any of this stuff. I'm learning a lot today.
Yeah, it's old. So solar is becoming more and more important just to sustain the grid because we're asking it to do a lot of things that it's normally not supposed to.
We're asking solar or we're asking electric?
The grid.
Okay, the grid.
Right, yeah,
okay.
so it needs solar to actually put offset the power. Because if you look at like your grandmother's house that you grew up in, that probably has one outlet in every room.
Right.
Right, because it was for a lamp.
Maybe on a wall. Maybe one outlet on a big wall.
Yeah. And then the breaker panel box is a 50 amp.
Right.
Right.
A few breakers.
Now it's a standard 200 to 220 breaker, and then you have 10 outlets in a room.
Yeah.
Because we got computers, we got TVs, we got streaming services, we got everything that we're plugging in. Yep. Now they're pushing electric cars. That's going to put more of a strain on the grid.
That's what I mean. That's where I'm like, okay.
Yeah, California cracks me up because
we're going to have a whole nother podcast on California.
Yeah, because, they want you to go electric, and they're like,
but we don't have electric. We don't have enough.
We're going to shut you down for, a few hours tonight.
I know.
Or don't plug your cars in tonight.
Yeah. I'm like, am I the only person who thinks this is insanity to go?
Yeah, it's unsustainable.
It is unsustainable. That's a better word. It's like, quit being so dependent on something that you don't have.
Yep. In California, if you're on new construction, you have to have 10% solar panels on it.
Okay.
So
we're already seeing some of that happen. So the other thing that I would love to talk on, quickly is I think of solar too is, and maybe I'm wrong, there's a good chance, but I feel like it could be pretty much anywhere. Yep. So when you're doing new construction, when you are building in a rural area, like we're in Oklahoma, we still have a lot of land that can be developed. We have people that come in, like you said, from all kinds of places, because it is appealing to be able to buy acres and acres of land. So do you feel like solar is easier to get there, or is it about the same?
It's about, because most of the system, all of our systems are grid tied, so they're tied to the
So they're
system.
going to be tied to it.
Yeah. Now
Okay.
you can do an off-grid system, but then you're really dependent on,
So the off-grid is for the preppers.
Well, the off-grid, it could be for the preppers, but you're really dependent on what you're producing and how much you stored.
Okay.
The great thing about solar now, it doesn't matter what you do, because at any point in time, you have to have more power. You have PSO or, OG&E or whatever you're.
So you are kind of still dependent upon.
Not necessarily. They're just there. Imagine a baseball game.
Okay.
Solar's your star pitcher.
Okay.
Right? It's your starter. Any point in time you need a relief, PSO's in the dugout.
Got it.
And he comes in, throws a couple pitches. Next day, you start rolling the meter backwards.
Okay,
again.
you go back with your star.
Yep, you go back with your star. So
Okay.
the great thing is you're really limiting the amount of money you're going to spend on electricity, because instead of PSO raising its rates, or any other company out there, I don't want to pick on PSO, but all the other companies raising the rates continuously, if you're producing your own power on a set payment, even if it's 85% offset, that's 85% of your power that's never going to increase, and you don't have to worry about next year you're paying $330 instead of $250.
Okay.
So it really kind of helps you out budgeting as well.
So how do people get in touch with you? How do they learn more?
You can you can text me, call me. My number is 918-361-5728.
Okay. And do you have a website?
We do have a website.
With the name of your company,
you
can Google. Yep,
yeah,
you can Google it. Spell it for everybody.
It's VOLTIAC. And it's construction.
It's okay.
Yeah, Voltaic Construction out of California. But we're here in Oklahoma. We all have mortgages here, so we're not going anywhere.
That's right. And you can always get in touch with us, like here at Aaron K Trading Company, and we would be happy to connect you as well. I've learned a lot. I feel like this wasn't enough time to get all the information that we probably
there's a lot out there
need. But if anybody has questions, reach out, because
absolutely.
Now we've got a in-town expert on all things solar.
Wouldn't go
No, claim it. Just go with it. Say,
okay.
Yes,
Absolutely.
that's me. I'm owning that.
I'm your solar guy.
That's right. I like that. See, I'm the sold girl, you're the solar guy.
I'm the solar guy. Absolutely.
See, I'm as good as sold. You're as good as solar.
Yeah, I'm as good as the sun.
I just gave you a really great tagline there.
I did.
Hey. Well, Ron, thanks so much for being here today. And we really appreciate your time. And we hope that you enjoyed it today. And we'll catch you the next time on Tulsa Life.